Hey everybody, this is Reese. I want to thank you for listening in on this very strange but very necessary Nicolas Cage podcast. The episode you're about to hear, we actually hoped to release before Christmas, but life got in the way, and so we're releasing it now in January of the new year. Our Cageless series highlights movies without Nicolas Cage that we really want to talk about, and in this episode we're looking at the 1996 Christmas comedy Jingle All the Way, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. We talk a bit about the film, about some of our favorite toys growing up, and finally, what's ahead for Late Night Cage Fight. I hope you all had a very happy holiday season. 2021 looks like it may be another wild ride, but hang in there. Our goal with this podcast is just to share our love of movies and, ideally, to make you laugh. And now, this is Cageless. Jingle All the Way.
Cageless. On the first day of Christmas, my true love sent to me a partridge in a pear tree.
That's true.
We are Late Night Cage Fight. Welcome back. We are the arbiters of the Cageverse here with another Cageless episode, looking at a fantastic holiday film that I think we all like, at least Cage Fighter Sean and myself, Cage Fighter Reese. We're big fans of. I don't know about you, Cage Fighter Steve. Oh, we're not cage fighters. I always forget. This is a little more casual than our ultra serious, WWE style battle podcast, right?
It's really serious.
Super serious. Are you a fan,
Super.
Steve?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd seen it once before, or at least once before. So I was kind of like, oh yeah, I knew this movie when I started watching it. Yeah.
I don't
Good.
think
I'm excited to hear you talk about that.
I don't think that there's anything casual about the Lord Jesus Christ on his birthday.
I didn't mean to imply anything. Sorry, Sean.
It's the war on Christmas.
It is a war. And that's one theme of Jingle All the Way we'll get into later, is the eternal war on Christmas that's only getting worse every year. And I'm sick and tired of it. And I don't see anything being done about it. That's one reason why I made this podcast. I thought Nick Cage fans would unite to help us defeat this once and for all. But yeah, anyway, I guess I should talk a little bit about our podcast, Late Night Cage Fight. Normally we talk about Nick Cage movies because what else would you want to talk about, right? What else is there out there? I mean, I guess there's some video games that are kind of cool. A couple books.
Antiquing.
Antifa.
Is that still a thing?
Crochet.
Right. So it's just, there's so much that we've already covered with Nick Cage. We've decided to kind of veer off the beaten path and explore some of the movies we grew up with and have loved over the centuries, over the years. And one of those is Jingle All the Way, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I do not want to touch his ass. I want to make him talk.
And Sinbad, directed by Brian Levant, written by Randy Cornfield. It's got Phil Hartman in it.
Randy.
It was Phil Hartman. It was his last role, actually, before his death. 1996 is when this came out. Didn't receive a lot of critical acclaim, but I think it's actually aged well, and it's become kind of a cult classic.
This is a movie that I've seen countless times since I was a kid, and to be completely honest, I'm not really the biggest fan of the Christmas season, having worked in retail a lot in the past.
You're a Grinch.
A little bit. I tend to like more of the Halloween season. Not really a big fan of the snow or crowds. And
so you're a fan
traffic.
of you're a fan of the Halloween season, of the Gothic season, and that's why you had me watch that Beowulf trailer, right?
Absolutely.
This is Beowulf from, what year was it?
1999.
With Christopher Lambert. Yeah, I'd never even heard of it. So I just watched the trailer. Yeah, so like I was saying, Jingle All the Way, it's one of those cult classic Christmas films that a lot of people love even today, despite having bad reviews. There's a lot of classic Christmas movies that didn't have great reviews, like I think A Christmas Story, What are some other holiday classics? Where do you think Jingle All the Way falls in between or with these other movies like Home Alone? The Santa Claus was a big one in my house. We used to watch that every year with Tim Allen. Elf is a popular one. Steve, you were talking about Elf. You're an Elf fan?
So I'm a little distracted because I think I watched the wrong movie. Where did you guys watch this? Because I pulled it up, searched for it, and it actually came up on this website, xnxx.com. Jingle All the Way. Is that not where you guys watched it?
I think you're thinking of Jingle All the Wang.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Another holiday classic of a different ilk, we will say.
Yeah, and maybe even a different language or country.
Yeah. Okay, that's my bad. All right, so we're talking the Schwarzenegger movie.
I'll get that toy. I promise.
It's Christmas Eve and Dad is in a bind. It seems the hottest toy
Trouble man.
rather hard to find.
Damn, come on.
Just when things looked up, a problem did arise. Another dad is on his tail with signs on the same prize. Policemen hear the mothers, their kids are in the way. One will get the Turbo Man, the other's gonna pay.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jingle All the Way, rated PG.
You watched the wrong one, Steve. I can't keep letting this happen. How did you end up on that site?
What happens? I told you, I just went into Google and I typed in Jingle All the... Oh, you're right, I did. I typed Wang.
Did you like Elf? Are you an Elf fanatic? Are you an Elf?
I don't know that I would say that I'm an Elf fanatic. I've seen it before. It's I'm usually not a Will Ferrell fan, like at all. But that's one of the few movies that I can kind of get behind.
I do like Pharrell.
Yeah. I lived with some people that were fanatics of that movie, and they insisted that we watch it every year. So I've seen it. Been around the block, you know.
I've never seen it.
No?
Well, so Sean, is Jingle All the Way then your favorite Christmas movie?
So growing up, the two like main movies that I would watch around the holidays were probably the Santa Claus, Jingle All the Way, and not by my choice, but A Christmas Story. If I never see A Christmas Story ever again, that's fine.
So we never actively tried to watch it. It was just on like repeat on the TV. It was the only movie they ever played on TV, I felt like.
TNT.
My family always has it on in the holidays, and I just don't care.
Yeah.
What about you, Steve?
For me growing up, I was a lot of Miracle on 34th Street and usually just regular beatings.
You gotta beat your kids, folks, please.
You would get beat at home?
Yeah, or sometimes it was just casual psychological abuse. It was
For Christmas?
hit or miss. Yeah, usually just the entire Christmas season, actually. It wasn't reserved for just a single day. It would usually just be periodically dispersed throughout the entire season. That way you never truly knew when it was coming, and it was always a surprise, which kept it interesting.
So the holidays are a particularly stressful time for you.
Yeah, one might say.
Do you guys consider Die Hard a Christmas movie? Because I do.
Sure.
I remember seeing Jingle All the Way as a kid, and I don't know how many times I watched it, but I really, really loved certain parts of it. I loved the opening, I loved the ending, and there was a lot that I had forgotten going back and rewatching it that I remember I did like and enjoy, but I think I was a bit confused as a kid. Jingle All the Way, I feel like it's really a movie for the grown-ups. You know, they kind of sugarcoat it with stuff for kids to make it kind of a feel-good thing. But when you look at really what's going on in this movie, it's kind of like a cartoon for adults, live action style. That's kind of the way I interpret it.
It's got some pretty adult themes. we'll say.
Yeah, for that time, I think those jokes, some of the stuff that happens in this movie, you could get away with. Arnold Schwarzenegger is Howard Langston, a salesman who sells mattresses.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize he sold mattresses.
Yeah, it's just right at the beginning, real quick. He's in his office.
200 king size by next Friday. No problem whatsoever, but only for you, Mr. Jacobs.
You're my number one customer.
But, yeah, poor Arnie is not the world's best dad in this movie. At least not starting out. He's not a Robin Williams.
We all have needs, Kyle.
Needs? What are you talking about?
Masturbation is natural.
Oh, you know it's not natural.
What?
Talking about jerking off with your dad. That's not natural. Shit.
And his son, Jamie, who is played by Anakin Skywalker.
Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd. Yeah.
The one thing they can't get away with, casting him. He is pretty good in this. Probably better than in Star Wars.
Yeah. The gist of the movie really is Jamie wants one thing for Christmas, and it is the hot item.
I want the Turbo Man action figure with the arms and legs that move, and the boomerang suitor, and the rock and roll jetpack, and the realistic voice activator that says 5 different phrases, including...
When the movie starts, it opens up with pretty much a scene from an episode of the Turbo Man show, which is the way that they shoot it is very accurate to something like Power Rangers or a Japanese style team superhero show, and it's super exciting even as an adult to see that, and you can understand why kids are instinctively drawn to this kind of marketing. And then the rest of this movie is essentially Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to find this toy to give to his son for Christmas after promising it to him, because he's not a great dad, right? He wasn't able to show up to his son's karate award ceremony. It's made known that all of these different experiences he's not having with his son, and his son is starting to resent him, and also his wife too. They're all disappointed in him, so he has to now scour the city for a Turbo Man doll, but he runs into Sinbad, who is, typical Sinbad. He's a postal worker in this movie, who's also trying to find the doll for his son.
Hey, I'm not going home without that doll!
There's a part where Sinbad is toppled to the floor, and it's like a dog pile with all these other shoppers at the mall. And he says, Rodney King. Rodney King!
That's pretty controversial.
It's controversial, right? But at that time, I feel like it was more acceptable to laugh at social things, whereas now it's considered distasteful, and you're likely to get canceled
or demonetized
or demonized. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to find the Turbo Man doll in a race against time versus Sinbad, and it's just a series of increasingly ridiculous circumstances that he has to endure leading up to this parade on Christmas Eve, where we get this awesome kind of exciting action sequence where Arnold accidentally plays the role of Turbo Man and saves the day and becomes the hero. He becomes the character.
How many millions of dollars did they spend on that suit?
Right?
For a parade. Yeah.
They essentially built like an Iron Man suit.
Yeah, man.
Like a functioning with a jetpack.
Which I would understand a jetpack with like some minor like hovering, but that thing full on like flew around the city.
He flew up like at least 10 miles up in the air or whatever. Like he was on top of skyscrapers.
Yeah. Yeah, it just descends into chaos. It just into surrealism. The longer this movie progresses, right? It kind of dabbles in it at the beginning, and it gets more and more cartoony. Do you guys remember this movie as a kid? How did you feel when you saw it?
I've always thought that this movie was pretty entertaining.
Howard, by the way, they say it may get icy later. You might want to wrap some chains around those tires.
Maybe you should wrap some chains around you.
What?
Can't forget about Phil Hartman. He plays Ted, the quote-unquote obnoxious neighbor who he fucks.
Ted, I was wondering if you'd mind taking a look at my porch light. It just doesn't seem to be working, and you being such a handyman.
Sure, I've got just the tool for the job.
Yeah, I like that part of it. It's there's so many subtle references, sexual references, actually, that are some are borderline uncomfortable watching with your kids. Like when Ted is at their house while Arnold is gone trying to find a Turbo Man. So Ted has kind of like taken over as the man of the house. I missed it when I watched it recently the first time. I totally missed the part when he put the lights on Arnold's house when he wasn't there. Yeah, I see you didn't have Christmas lights up this year, so I thought I'd do y'all a favor. How weird is that?
I would hate that man so much.
Oh, he plays that so well. He has that shit-eating grin. The way that this is written, this is a movie. I don't feel like it had a what do you call it? Like a quality assurance team.
You know what you guys are? Nothing but a bunch of sleazy con men in red suits.
It didn't have studio control. You know what I mean? It's just like, we're going to do this crazy stuff and we don't care how people feel about it. We're going to have Phil Hartman's character bring home a reindeer because that's hilarious. And then later we're going to have Arnold punch the reindeer in the face.
And then get it drunk.
And then get it drunk.
You picked the wrong day.
Was that an animatronic? I feel like that was an animatronic.
That was really well done, wasn't it? It seemed like, to me, I thought it was a mix of a live reindeer and some kind of animatronic. But they did a good job convincing you that it could be real.
You could tell that it was not a real reindeer, but like it was believable.
According to IMDb, 20th Century Fox offered Schwarzenegger the project after the development on a remake of Planet of the Apes fell apart. And I guess that was a project he was really looking forward to doing. And do you guys remember that remake? It was kind of lackluster, I think. Wasn't there like a Tim Burton Planet of the Apes?
Oh, in like the early 2000s?
Yeah.
I never actually saw it, but I
know when it came out I wasn't too enthused by it. Another fun fact, many of the lines in this movie said by Sinbad and Arnold were improvised.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, with Sinbad, it's obvious, right? He's a comedian, he's sharp, quick on his feet when he's rambling on and on. But with Arnold, that's kind of impressive. I think Arnold is probably a funny guy. You know, he can probably handle himself pretty well in a comedy without too much direction. The story is based on the 1980s shopping frenzy over the Cabbage Patch Dolls. If you haven't seen that video, there's actually a video on YouTube that, documents that craziness.
The latest awful example of pre-Christmas selling hype to hit America. Cabbage Patch Dolls.
In Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, it was a near riot. One woman broke her leg. 4 others were hurt. One store official armed himself with a baseball bat.
You know, when I was standing in line to pre-order the Wii back in like, what was it, like 2004 or whatever, it was so hard to find then that I ended up waiting in line overnight for a pre-order at Toys R Us. Could have had the chance to buy a Tickle Me Elmo.
I remember that craze.
Yeah, it was the TMX, the Tickle Me Elmo Extreme.
Really?
Yeah. No, that I'm not even kidding. That is what it is called.
I remember when Furbies came out, and I had to wait in line. I waited in a line with my friend and his parents for Furbies, and they gave me money and said, "Hey, just pay them for the Furby when you get to the front." Okay. And I didn't really understand. I was pretty young. But I thought that I was going to get a Furby and then my mom would pay them back. But no, they brought me along so that I could buy them an extra Furby so that they could resell them. Dude, it was...
You're part of the problem.
Yep, that sucked. I think it was Kmart. 2 hours of waiting for these things.
That's actually a light day comparatively. We've done worse.
Yeah, we have.
Well, I mean, we've done worse just in this season. Us kids.
Yeah, you selling thousands of PS5s at insane prices.
What are some other iconic toys from our childhood? I remember when I was a kid, I liked to collect Beetlejuice action figures, Aliens, from movies I liked. But then later, I think the collectibles really started to peak for me when we got into Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were the TY Beanie Babies. That was another big craze.
That was a thing that I never got into and I never understood. Yeah, that same friend, his family, they were all into Beanie Babies, buying, trading, selling. And I mean, I thought they were kind of cool, but I didn't understand how they were kind of like I don't know, like a commodity that you would want to sell and trade and buy.
I was into them. I thought they were cool when I was younger.
I thought that there were certain ones. There was a dragon one that I liked. There was a wolf one that I thought was cool. But when I would meet like these old ladies with a bunch of bears.
It's kind of funny because Funko Pops, that's basically what everyone thought Beanie Babies were going to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because like you can legitimately... I was into those for a while. And I got out of it, and I think I actually like profited on on my collection of that.
The Funko Pop?
There was one that I sold. Yeah, there was one that I think I bought it for. It was a Comic-Con exclusive Vault Boy Freddy Funko of like Funko's mascot, and it was like limited to 700 or something, and I sold it for I think like $400.
Well, what were your toys, your Christmas toys as a kid?
Nintendo 64.
Oh yeah. That was a big one.
That was always, Christmas was always my time to ask for game consoles.
What about before you got into game consoles? What were the kinds of things you would ask for Christmas?
I was like really into Crazy Bones. Remember those?
Crazy Bones? No.
They were these little like plastic figurine things with just like weird faces, and I guess there would be like some kind of game you would play with them.
You know, I don't recognize these guys, but I was into Muscle Men. Steve, did you ever see my Muscle Men?
I did. I remember them.
And I still have quite a Muscle Man collection. They're little figurines like this, but they're wrestlers, and they're different creatures too. They're jacked, and they look like they should be fighting in a ring. And I found out later that they're actually from Japan, and they're from the series Kinnikuman.
Oh, yeah. Which was the sequel came to the U.S. as Ultimate Muscle.
Right. Yeah, and they're popular. They're popular here. They're popular in the U.S. and in Japan.
That GameCube game for Ultimate Muscle is amazing.
Is it? Yeah, I loved my Muscle Man. What about you, Steve? What were your toys as a kid? I know you had G.I. Joe.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, but a lot of the G.I. Joes I had were all like leftovers from my brothers. I'm trying to remember any of the Christmas things that I got. Big Bad Beetleborgs. Big Bad Beetleborgs. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I had an Ultraman like enemy, and I didn't find out until I was an adult that it was an Ultraman character. It was just like some random monster that I got.
Yeah. And they still make and sell those in Japan. You'll see them at toy stores, all these crazy different monsters, and you just think, oh, are these generic villains? And then, if you didn't know, right? But no, they're all from Ultraman because there's just tons of different designs.
Mm-hmm. I had a bunch of Godzilla toys when I was growing up.
That's cool. Did you keep them?
You know, I think I probably still have them somewhere at my parents' house.
Yeah, those I think could be worth something.
Yeah, I remember one year I had to have been like 7 or something, and my dad told me that there was a movie called Godzilla vs. Megalon, and for some reason I thought that there was no possible way that was real, and he was just fucking with me. I'm like, there's no Godzilla versus Megalon. That's ridiculous. And then he got it on VHS for Christmas.
There you go, son. It's real. And so is Godzilla.
Since we're kind of on the topic, there was something that I wanted to mention. On Disney Plus, they just released this documentary series about Marvel called 616, and they basically just talk about different Marvel things. And the first episode was all about the Japanese Spider-Man TV show. And it was just this story of basically this American guy who was married to a Japanese woman and would always go back and forth between the two countries. And, manga was really popular. And so he essentially approached Marvel about licensing the rights to Marvel characters to Japan. And they basically came up with they went to Toei, and they essentially came up with this show which basically was kind of the precursor to things like Power Rangers and stuff. And Spider-Man was Spider-Man, but he also had a giant robot Sphinx that transformed into a giant robot.
Yeah.
And and I just thought it was interesting that that show basically kicked off such a massive thing in Japan.
And then the story about how Saban acquired Power Rangers and made it huge in the States, that's also interesting as well.
I'd recommend checking out that episode of that documentary, though, because the people that were involved, they interview all of them, and they were actually very passionate about it. And they actually said when they came back to Marvel and had them review what the guy had created, the executives were all just who the hell is gonna want to watch this?
Okay.
What is this? And then Stan Lee was there watching with them, and he stood up and started clapping, and he just loved it.
That's awesome. All right, for me, I had one Christmas where I wanted a silver Buzz Lightyear, and I didn't get it. And I was pretty broken up about that. I lost my faith. I lost my respect for my family and my friends. I think I eventually got one, though, so my life turned around shortly after. But in Jingle All the Way, there's that scene where they're in the diner, and Sinbad is telling his story when he didn't get his toy as a kid. But his friend got that toy for Christmas, and his friend became, CEO of some company? So it's true. If you don't get your kids what they ask for on Christmas, there are severe psychological effects. Just remember that.
It's true.
Just remember that. People out there looking for a PS5. You got to do what you got to do. If somebody else has a PS5, you might consider breaking into their house and stealing it.
Like he does in this movie.
That's what Arnold does. Yeah, although he does regret it. He does finally wake up.
Well, he doesn't regret breaking into the house. He regrets stealing from a child. He doesn't regret breaking into the house or setting it on fire or punching the reindeer.
Yeah, but it was Phil Hartman's. Screw that guy.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna steal a PS5, steal one from an adult. That's all I'm saying.
Not from a kid.
All I'm gonna say is, if you're gonna try to sleep with somebody's wife, maybe not choose the 7-foot-tall Austrian man.
Guys, I have been a huge Arnold fan my entire life. I just love him in these roles. I just love the fact that he took these roles because they're so unlike his action movie star roles. And then I had to think about, what would it be like if it was Nick Cage as the father character in this? Could he really pull it off? I think he would do it, though, because he loves superheroes.
I feel like it would probably be like his role in Family Man.
I don't know. I feel like it would be entertaining, but what Arnold does, somehow, this might be me being biased as a kid and liking Arnold as an actor as a kid, and really being able to believe that he was this kid's dad in these movies. I don't think I could feel that way with Nick. With Nick, I'd feel like, oh, it's Nick Cage pretending to be this kid's dad. You know what I mean?
So, truthfully, though, if we're talking Cage and his role in this movie, he would be the neighbor.
Yeah.
Because I think the chemistry between him and Arnold would be pretty flawless, because he would have no problem standing up to Arnold.
But he would want to be a superhero.
I think he would do a way better... He would want to be a superhero, but he's also really good at playing the sleazebag, too. I think he would have done a better job at the sexual innuendos and...
So instead of Phil Hartman, we get Nick Cage Xanda Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like he could have also played Sinbad's role.
It would have been a different kind of humor, I think, with Nick in that role.
Yeah.
But I think he could have pulled it off, too.
Yeah.
I think he wouldn't have wanted to be Dementor or whoever it is. He wouldn't want to have that big brain. I think he would have negotiated a cooler looking outfit.
Isn't there like a newer
bomb? I just want the Turbo Man. I just have this bomb and they send through the mail.
All right. Since you bring that up, Sean, there's only one shot in this movie that I don't like, really, and that's saying a lot. I think pretty much every scene is entertaining to me now as an adult. When I watch it, I can appreciate every scene, but there's just one where I think, wow, if they hadn't gone this far, I think it would have been funnier. And it was the bomb scene where so Arnold and Sinbad, they hear on the radio that the radio station is going to give out to the winner of their contest, they're going to give a free Turbo Man. So they race to the station to claim their prize as winners. And Sinbad, who's a postal worker, then he uses his secret weapon, which since he's a postal guy, he's got a bomb in a package. And then, of course, when he throws the package down, it's a ploy. It's not really a bomb. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? But then when the police come, he has another package that this cop who keeps showing up throughout the movie. So I understand why they had to do it, but this package actually blows up. There's an explosion. And you don't see it blow up, right? You see it from outside the building, and then you see the explosion through the windows. And then Sinbad says, he says something like, people, that was real? Oh, people are sick these days.
Sick people in this world.
That's what he says. And I thought, then they show the police officer, he's got the black soot on him and just like a cartoon, basically, when you see a cartoon character that's been blown up. That was the only scene I thought was like, oh, that's so cartoony, kind of cheesy. But I get it because they keep using this same police officer as kind of a punching bag. Every time he gets caught up with Arnold and Sinbad, something bad happens to him, right? He gets the coffee spilled on him. What else? He's also right at the beginning. He's the cop that pulls over Arnold, who's speeding to get to his son's karate tournament.
Yeah, he goes off on the shoulder on the highway. Obviously, he gets pulled over because there's a traffic jam, and.
But I get the sense that the writers probably experimented with the dark humor, and then kind of had to see what worked and didn't work, and maybe by having that blow up and then just leave it at that, like making us think that those cops died, that was probably too far. But I thought, in my world, that would be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Everybody's dead. Wow.
Yeah. It's just like,
hilarious.
wow.
Yeah.
They took it that far, but they pushed the limits in other respects, right? There's a scene where they're at the mall and they find out. I have to say, I like how the plot is redirected by these outside influences that it's the equivalent of like the character receives a letter in the mail and that changes the story. So in this one, it's somebody screams like, "Oh, they got a Turbo Man at 42nd Street KB Toys. We gotta go, let's go." It's just some character, right? It's just some guy, and then everybody flocks to that location, and it just changes. It changes the story. So they end up at the Mall of America. They end up there, and they find out that if they can get a ball with a number on it, that it's a drawing, right? It's like the Powerball. Then they have a chance to buy Turbo Man.
But if they don't, then they have plenty of his faithful sidekick Booster.
Oh, we got to talk about Booster.
If you're not one of the lucky few, we have plenty of Turbo Man's faithful pet tiger Booster in stock. We don't want it! We don't want it! Nobody likes you, Booster. Oh, what?
Now listen.
Nobody likes Booster.
Nobody likes Booster. As a kid, I thought Booster looked cool. I hadn't seen a monster that looked like him before.
Yeah, I thought he looked like a Power Rangers type. It was straight out of the 80s.
Well, and this goes back to the psychological, effect of not getting what you wanted. You guys are used to getting subpar bullshit gifts, so.
Well, what was my point though about the mall scene?
Oh, that they make a joke about child predators.
Oh yeah. He chases. So Arnold tries to get the ball, loses the ball, chases the ball through the mall, ends up on the first level in this play place with this kid. Yeah, there's some dark humor there, right? He's in the ball pit, and the parents are like, "Oh, perv, there's an adult in the ball pit. Oh, he's a perv. He wants to fuck." We're not live.
You being such a handyman.
I mean, he does like the girl like puts the ball in her mouth, and Arnold like basically grabs her.
Was it a girl? See, everybody had a bowl cut at that time. Wow.
Yeah, they say, "Oh, little girl, here, I have a shiny red ball. Want to trade?"
Did you guys notice? Oh, what I was getting at was actually after that, the mall Santa.
Jim Belushi.
Oh yeah.
Jim Belushi is playing Santa, but this Santa, he's not really a clean, jolly fat Santa. He's actually a scam artist, and we get this scene where he follows this Santa to his lair to buy a Turbo Man at his compound with it's like his own elf workshop with people dressed up as Santa and elves, but they're like making their own toys there, their own knockoff toys. Mm-hmm. And once Arnold realizes that he's been scammed, we get this amazing fight scene.
It's like the Matrix, but with Santas.
Right. And then did you guys notice the Big Show? Was the Big Santa?
Yeah.
I'm gonna deck your halls, bub. And he has the giant, what is it? The giant candy cane, and he breaks it over.
God, I love it. It's so funny. It's just so bizarre. You would never expect to see something like this in a Christmas movie.
And they have the Kung Fu Santas that have candy cane nunchucks.
And then there's a bus, and the police show up to shut the operation down, and Arnold doesn't know what to do, right? He's still got to find this toy. That's the most important thing. So he's looking around, and he sees a toy, what is it, FBI badge, detective badge?
Yeah.
He picks that up and then shows it to the cop. Says, "Yeah, I'm Agent Schwarzenegger." And they believe it. And it's funny. It's kind of got that... have you guys seen Airplane?
Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
The nunchuck Santa, was that Tony Jaa?
I wish. You'd think that for I didn't want to bring this up, but you'd think that in Jingle All the Way 2, you'd have Tony Jaa in it. Come on.
We don't talk about that movie.
There is no Jingle All the Way 2.
I was curious because I never saw the trailer or anything for that, and I guess he's Larry the Cable Guy's trying to find like a talking bear for his daughter.
Already sounds terrible.
No Turbo Man. Ta-ta, Turbo Man.
What was cool about Jingle All the Way is this was really for little boys who loved cool things like He-Man, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers. This was a movie for them and parents to get something out of. And you don't see that kind of like hyper adrenaline, type of movie for kids. It's just refreshing to have a holiday movie like this that you can enjoy as an adult or a kid. I'm not saying that girls can't appreciate it, but I love the hyper masculinity in this one.
More like toxic masculinity.
Well, I mean, there are lessons to be had, right? It's a good lesson for parents, for dads. Listen to your kids. He didn't listen to his son when his son was like, this is what I want for Christmas. And Arnold is like, oh, that sounds cool, right? And then the next day, his wife's like, yeah, did you get the toy that he told you to get him? What toy? He ignores his kid, and that's the point of the movie. That's what he's supposed to learn in the end. And
in the end, he learned that the real thing that he wanted all along was his father's love.
Yeah, isn't that kind of...
And to be better than everybody else.
It is kind of weird that it was more of the son. Yeah, the son has more of a change, more than the dad, who just kind of by coincidence happens through all of these things and then ends up becoming the hero. But, I mean, you kind of get it, right? You kind of get that Arnold has to be the hero in his son's life. But it's not as clearly expressed as Jake Lloyd's character. Like, oh, my dad is a hero. I don't need a toy. He is my hero. Most kids, it's just like, no, I want a toy. Please give me the damn toy. I want a silver edition Buzz Lightyear. And 20 years later, 25 years later, I'm on eBay and I still can't find one.
I think he gave up the toy at the end, and then afterwards he regrets it, and he grows up, since he never had a Turbo Man, to just kill all the younglings.
Well, but it didn't even help, right? Because Sinbad still grew up to be Megamind, right?
Oh, he's Megamind.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like that movie.
Megamind?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it for the first time. Maybe Monday.
It's a good movie.
It's pretty good. Yeah, fellas. I think that's all she wrote for Jingle All the Way. Thanks for joining me, guys. And for everyone listening, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and bookmark our website at nickcagefight.com. We have at least one more review episode looking at a recent release featuring the man himself, Nicolas Cage, and you can expect that within the next few weeks. After that, we will be starting Season 3 of Late Night Cage Fight, where we continue the fight to battle Nick Cage movies in order, generally speaking. I can tell you that some of Cage's best movies will be appearing in this next season, and you will not want to miss it. Look us up on Facebook and let us know if you have any juicy Nick Cage news. Thank you, and goodbye.